Hello learners, welcome to this online session of Toxic Biotransformations Part 2. In Part 1, we talked about what are recalcitrant organic pollutants, how they bioaccumulate in different living organisms. So, we talked about various mechanisms, how they are intaken and how they are processed or how the organism is not able to process them. Now, in this part we are going to talk about how these chemicals are biodegraded. So, bio means living organisms and degradation means they are broken down and eliminated from the system. So, in this part we are going to talk about different modes of biodegradation, then various metabolic reactions which take place in living organisms to eliminate them. We will talk about the reactions which are involved in these biotransformations. Then we will also talk about the role of enzymes in elimination or handling of these pollutants in the environment, which is known as bioremediation. So, first is biodegradation. Now, the nature has different mechanisms by which it can degrade most of the chemicals present in nature, and this degradation can be abiotic when it takes place by various physical and chemical processes occurring in nature such as photolysis and hydrolysis. Now, photolysis is breakdown of a chemical with the help of UV radiations present in the sunlight. So, this photolysis is generally breaks down the chemicals which have aromatic ring structures, so such as PCBs. Then hydrolysis is the breakdown of a chemical through water, which is then supported by the sunlight heat or the sunlight or heat energy. Then biotic degradation. Biotic degradation is basically with the help of microorganisms. These microorganisms they degrade these chemicals through metabolic or enzymatic reactions which are based on two processes, growth and co-metabolism. Now, for growth microorganisms use these complex chemical compounds as sole source of carbon, nitrogen and energy, and during this process they degrade them to water, carbon dioxide and other basic inorganic constituents. So, this process of complete degradation is known as biomineralization. Then another aspect is metabolism. So, these microorganisms are using these chemicals for their metabolic processes, and one important aspect is co-metabolism. So, during which some harmful chemicals are also degraded. So, what is co-metabolism? Two chemicals are simultaneously degraded in this process. Sometimes enzyme used by a microbe during the process of mineralization of a chemical modifies the another chemical which does not support its growth. So, the chemical which has been used by microorganism for its growth is known as primary substrate, and the other chemical which does not support its growth, it is known as secondary substrate. Now, this process is very useful in degradation of environmental xenobiotics. For example, Pseudomonas strepzeri, there is organism which metabolizes methane and propane or simple sugars, and during metabolism of these compounds it can also degrade hazardous chlorinated solvents such as tetrachloroethylene or trichloroethylene, which would otherwise be very difficult for this bacteria to be attacked. Then once any chemical which enters into a living organism, there is a sum total of various metabolic processes which take place by which a xenobiotic is subjected to chemical changes in the living organisms. Now, this is known as biotransformation. The biotransformation changes the chemical structure of a xenobiotic, leading to changes in its property and distribution in nature. This mineralization process which we were talking about, it is also kind of a biotransformation, and all the living organisms, animals, plants, microbes, they all carry biotransformation reactions. However, the nature of these reactions and type of the xenobiotics which are transformed may vary from organism to organism. And what is the purpose of this biotransformation is to convert the lipophilic or non-polar compounds to polar compounds, making them more water soluble so that these are excreted out of the body. So, generally the 4 type of reactions occur during biotransformations. So, these are oxidations, reductions, hydrolysis and conjugations. Now, you have seen that biotransformations occur in large animals, for example, us human beings also, as well as microorganisms. But what is it that makes microbes so efficient in degradation of chemicals which cause toxicity to mammals? So, one reason is that microbes are using them as a source of energy. So, therefore, except for some of the organic pollutants like halogenated aromatic compounds, where the novel bonds are not recognized by these organisms, nothing is xenobiotic. So, that means they are able to biotransform all of them. Then these are microbes are highly adaptable to the changing environment by mutating. So, they learn to survive the chemicals which were initially toxic to them. Say for example, penicillin, when initially bacteria, when penicillin was discovered, bacteria were very sensitive to it, but eventually they learned to be resistant after some time, that is because of mutations. Then microbes, they can exist in all type of environments, even the extremes of salt, pH, pressure. So, you will find these microorganisms in all different type of environments. So, as a result, their metabolic activities result into different type of metabolic processes, biological processes which are not found in higher organisms, such as fermentation, anaerobic metabolism, chemolithotrophic metabolism, and then metabolism through exoenzymes. So, all these variety of different type of processes occur in microbes. Then another factor which make them so efficient is that degradation of the pollutants by microbes is favored by the fact that these are present in the same environmental compartment like soil, water, where these potential chemicals are present. So, they are able to process them more efficiently. Now, we are talking about degradation, and we said that degradation could be biodegradation or it can be non-bio degradation. So, what are these non-degradative elimination processes? Now, these are the processes which are occurring in nature where the natural processes are actually redistributing them in some way. Say for example, vaporization. Now, if the vapor pressure of a pollutant is very high, so what will happen? It will evaporate from soil or water, and then it will stick to the dust particles in the air. So, and it will be taken to new territories, resulting in the distribution. So, the chemical is still there, but it has been redistributed, resulting in its dilution of its concentration in that particular area. So, this type of phenomenon has resulted in worldwide distribution of relatively volatile organic chlorine pesticides such as lindane and hexachlorobenzene. Then another process is sedimentation, as I had mentioned earlier, also one example, that there are many pollutants, they are absorbed onto suspended particles in the water, and as a result they sediment. So, it results in their removal from the water. So, the pollutant is still present there, but chances of getting it into the living organism are significantly reduced as compared to if they were present in just pure water. Then soil runoff. Soil runoff is like highly water soluble contaminants can be removed and redistribute through runoff and soil percolation. Say for example, there is a herbicide atrazine which is very commonly used in United States. So, it has been seen that there is 92% of the water reservoirs they detected the presence of atrazine. So, where is it coming from? Because it is highly soluble, it migrates from soil to the groundwater, resulting in its redistribution from soil to water. So, as a result it becomes relatively diluted. So, now we have already seen that microorganisms, they play a very important role in degradation of these persistent chemicals in the environment. So, the process in which these microbes are employed to facilitate the removal of environmental pollutants or contaminants is known as bioremediation. And bioremediation of the chemical compounds involves 3 steps. One is natural attenuation, second is biostimulation, and third one is bioaugmentation. Now, all these steps come in increasing order. So, first natural attenuation will be used, if needed biostimulation will be used, and if both do not work then the bioaugmentation will be used. So, let us look at what these phenomena are. Now, natural attenuation is the pollutants are allowed to degrade by native microbes under natural conditions, right. So, they are already degrading, so they are allowed to degrade as such. It depends upon, biodegradation will depend upon number of factors such as temperature, pH, availability of oxygen, nitrogen and phosphorus sources. So, if all these conditions are right, then the microbes can degrade or reduce the contaminant to a product which are of little or no harm. So, under natural attenuation, these conditions are monitored at the bioremediation sites so that the biodegradation remains active. So, that is why it is also known as monitored natural attenuation, abbreviated as MNA. Second step is biostimulation. Now, as we discussed that microorganism needs suitable conditions, right, like temperature, pH, moisture, then there should be enough nutrients should be present for organism to perform their tasks efficiently and optimally. So, what happens is, if at the bioremediation site any of these factors, one or any of these factors is limiting, then we may add soil nutrients, we may add trace minerals, electron acceptor and electron donor. So, basically energy sources and nutrients are provided at the site of bioremediation, and this process is known as biostimulation. Then third one is this process bioaugmentation. It is applied when the first 2 processes fail. Now, sometimes what happens, biodegradation of the pollutants does not take place because of the lack of right kind of microorganism in the contaminated soil or water. So, what is done is that there is single or mixture of right kind of microbes are added at the site of contamination. So, even the genetically engineered microbes are also used for sometimes because of their better degradation capability, because they have been modified genetically so that they have better capacity to degrade a chemical and they have a better ability to survive in the extreme conditions. So, this basically addition, when we add exogenous microbe to the site of bioremediation, it increases the genetic diversity. So, it results into faster biodegradation. Now, what are the advantages? First advantage is that there is less human intervention because microbes are already existing in the environment. They are already doing the natural process of degradation. They already have the enzymes to break down a wide range of environmental pollutants. Then another advantage is that it is very fast because if they have all the nutrients the microorganisms need, then it is very cost effective and sometimes it is free. Now, in addition to being these advantages, there are some limitations of bioremediations. First is that growth and metabolism of the microbes depends upon the environmental variables like temperature, oxygen level and moisture. So, these variables vary rapidly, they change rapidly, and it is almost next to impossible to control these natural variables. You cannot control these variables, right. Then secondly, it is difficult to predict the behavior of a contaminant in the environment. So, how it will behave? It may be dispersed in the rain by the rainfall, or it may stick to soil or mineral particles, or may be trapped away from the microorganisms. So, if it is sticking or trapped in the environment, then the microorganism does not have access to this contaminant. So, if it cannot access it, it cannot metabolize this. Then another thing could be that metabolism of the organism could be very slow. So, although we can add nutrients, biostimulation we can add nutrients and expedite it, but if it is there is inherent tendency of a slow metabolism, then again there is a problem. Then sometime what happens is there may not be any native enzymes, organisms which are trying to, so we try to bring it from the outside organisms over there to the site of bioremediation. So, again it may pose certain problems. Then in some cases bioremediation leaves behind the unacceptable level of contaminant which still has to be dealt with. So, means they may metabolize the contaminant or the pollutant, but still it may not be up to the mark. So, there may be some amount left which will again be difficult to be dealt. Now, where this bioremediation has been used in Gulf, where the oil spills in the water bodies have been there in large amount. So, we know that these oil spills result, they are very dangerous to the aquatic life. So, many bacteria and fungi have been effectively used for bioremediation and clean up these spills. However, in case of massive oil spills, the biostimulation is done by adding dispersants. So, what are these dispersants? These dispersants, they break or disperse the oil into small droplets. So, as a result they are easier for bacteria to handle, and these dispersants also act as a source of energy for these microbes. Then it has been used for sewage water treatment. So, this is again another practical application of bioremediation, because sewage is a mixture of wastes, chemicals, contaminants. Now, in order to make water to be safe again, it needs to be treated. So, bioremediation is a very effective, it has emerged as a very effective way to clean the waste water in a very cost effective manner. Then soil bioremediation. So, soil bioremediation is basically many pesticides and fertilizer which we are using in farming, they are getting into the soil. So, in order to decontaminate the soil, bioremediation is used by adding compost to the soil. So, compost is what? Compost is a mixture of microbes and other nutrients. So, you can see that because of the metabolic diversity of the microorganisms, it has been used for removing the contaminants from water, from air, from soil. Now, we have learned that in order to keep the environment and its biotic and abiotic components safe, it is important that these chemicals are degraded or transformed to a non-toxic form in nature. So, many biotic and abiotic processes operate in nature to degrade these chemicals. For example, in case of complete degradation, now if the complete degradation is not possible, biotransformations take place so as to convert them into less toxic form. So, in all these processes, that is degradation as well as biotransformation of the environmental pollutants, microbes play a very important role. So, after realizing that the diverse metabolic potential of microbes, there have been extensively used to clean up the environment pollutants by a process which is known as bioremediation. So, that is all in this topic. Thank you.